Hey, aloha everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to live Q&A here on Trauma Recovery University. My name is Athena Moberg, and I am here to serve the global community of adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse. And I am live on Facebook and Periscope. Hi everybody. Oh my goodness, look at all those hearts. I should put like the Periscope right here, right? I don't have enough room to do it all. Thank you for your patience. My apologies for a little bit of delay today. I'm still in between two houses and I was trying to get everything done. So welcome, welcome. If this is your first time to our channel, this is a channel for adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse. And I am an adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse, and I'm doing live Q&A for the global community. We show up here every week, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we hang out and we support one another. And so far I don't know how many people are on Periscope because I'm still learning Periscope, but between everybody that's live right now on Facebook and YouTube, we have around 50 of you, plus everybody over on Periscope. So that's super duper exciting. Our community is growing by leaps and bounds. And then that's not to mention like all of the replays, right guys? Thanks for telling everybody about it. Oh, and if you're watching on Roku, thank you so much for all of the 5-star reviews on Roku TV. The more 5-star reviews that we get, the more survivors are able to be reached and helped because they bump us up in the search. We reach the top of search the more 5-star reviews we have. So without further ado, I wanted to let you know what this week's topic is going to be, and I wanted to let you know that this conversation is going to be triggering. And for anyone who has experienced any type of childhood maltreatment, this conversation is going to be very triggering. And that being said, you deserve excellent, safe support. And so this chat is not the place for crisis support. I would love to be able to provide crisis support for you all, but I just do not have the capability of doing that. So in order for you to receive the proper amount of support and the level of support and the professional support that you deserve, you're going to need to reach out to our friends over at RAINN. And they can be reached at rainn.org. And or you can reach out to our friends at oneinsix.org. If you are a male survivor, our male community is growing like really, really fast. And we're just super duper grateful for all of you. Let me see if I can get this like at a different angle here. There we go. I don't know. I'm gonna keep trying, you guys. But I'm really grateful that you all are here. This week's topic is, do we disclose our childhood sexual abuse to our spouse and our partner, spouse or partner? And if we do choose to disclose, how do we do that? When do we choose to disclose? What are some helpful tips and strategies and ways to handle that? Things to take into consideration, and how should we do that? So I'm going to be answering a whole bunch of you guys' questions. We have some amazing volunteers tonight that are just doing their awesome stuff. Sort of like a person and a number. I'm going to stay here and I'm going to read. Thank you for everybody who's trying to help me. You guys are so amazing, and I appreciate you. I'm going to be answering a whole bunch of your questions. If you have questions, I have awesome moderators on YouTube and on Twitter and on Facebook and even on Periscope. And so I will get to your questions. If you ask a question, I will get to your question and I'll be able to read it out loud and I'll be able to help you guys. So again, this week's topic is when and how and if to disclose our childhood sexual abuse to our spouse or our partner. And I'm super excited to be able to come here and just share love and give love and receive love from you guys. And I'm just so grateful to social media, you guys. I mean, can you believe that we're here and we're reaching people in over 180 countries and we're all here supporting one another? So it's just amazing. And thank you for all of the hearts. You guys are so amazing. Thank you. And thank you for inviting your followers and retweeting. And I just appreciate you guys. So thank you. So this shirt, you guys, real quick shout out. Stu over at the Gatehouse, which, by the way, if you are in Canada, go to the Gatehouse website, which I believe is thegatehouse.org, or maybe it's just gatehouse.org. And maybe it's on here. The Gatehouse. It's probably the Gatehouse. Anyway, don't should all over yourself. We as survivors, we tend to tell ourselves, our inner critic is like, well, you should be doing better. You should be farther along. You should be doing more. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. And it really isn't very helpful for our recovery journey. And it really is something that is counterproductive, and it gets us stuck. And it would be very, very helpful for us as survivors if we wouldn't use the word should when we're talking to ourselves and we're having that inner dialogue that all of us have. So I see everybody doing all the hearts on on Periscope, and I see a whole bunch of comments and dialogue and everything going on up on Facebook, but I don't have my contacts in or my glasses because I can't find them because I'm moving and I'm in between two places. And is anybody here ever watched Veggie Tales? Do you remember the Veggie Tale that was like, where is my hairbrush? Where is my hairbrush? That's me. So I'm so professional, and you know, this is so professional. I have like little mini dreadlocks going on. I haven't brushed my hair since yesterday, I think. I can't find my hairbrush. I seem to have lost it. So hey, Dennis, it's so good to see you, unless it's Denise. If it's Denise, hi, but hey, Dennis. Denise 4. Denise 4. I'm so excited that you're here. Welcome. So we are going to be talking about when, if, and how to disclose our childhood sexual abuse to our spouses and our partners. And this is something that is painful and difficult and triggering. And it really is a personal decision, you guys. I just want to throw that out there. It is a personal decision. No one should be making this decision but you. And if you have, I know that this is going to be triggering when I say this out loud, but if you have very well-meaning loved ones, in air quotes, who are sharing your history and sharing your abuse story and telling people and sharing your truth, I'm sorry, that should not be happening. That is something that is yours to tell. It is your truth. It is your story to tell. It is something that is just vitally important that you get to choose. And when we don't get to choose when and if our story and our truth and our history gets shared, then that's a violation of our boundaries. And the very fact that you're here on this channel means that you're an adult survivor of childhood abuse, likely childhood sexual abuse. And that means that your boundaries were violated at a very young age during childhood, to the most horrific extent that you were sexually violated as a child. So thank you all for being here, for providing support and love and kindness to this global community. And I will do my very best to answer every single one of your questions while also sharing valuable screen share information with you guys that are on Roku and on YouTube Live. I don't quite know how to do a screen share yet. I know I can do it through OBS, but I don't have OBS hooked up, especially here in my new spot. And then I would be able to do it on YouTube Live for sure. And I don't know how to do screen shares through Periscope yet. So again, pardon the not brushed hair, you guys. My goodness gracious. Oh my. Yeah, if anybody has questions, just post them up. And I'm going to go ahead and just check and see if you guys have any questions yet. And if you do, then I will be able to, let me see. I'm having a hard time seeing. I need my glasses. Is it so pathetic, you guys? I can't find anything. I can't find my glasses or my contacts or anything. It's like ridiculous. Let me see if you all have. Oh, good. Oh, wait. Oh, I should have checked to see if there was audio. Rules, good, something, Okay, okay, YouTube good, Facebook good. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dawn. Okay. I have my first question for you guys. I'm doing live Q&A, so if you have questions, please post them, and I will do my best to get to every single one of them, okay? Here we go. But what I was going to say is I don't know how to do screen shares on Periscope yet. Thanks for all the hearts. You guys are so amazing. But I am going to be reading the screen share out loud so that everyone... Thank you so much, Ariel. Yeah, I don't think I can either. But I'm going to be reading it out loud so that everyone can benefit from the information. So I hope that that is helpful to everybody. Okay, let's see. Nikki has a question. Nikki C. I believe this is over on Twitter. Oh my goodness, someone is at my front door. Do you hear that? I think it is the UPS guy. Oh my goodness. Well, how am I going to handle that? Like, this is live. I can't just get up and go handle UPS right now. Goodness Lord. Okay. So over on Twitter, Nikki says, how do you deal with a spouse who starts withholding sex because you have disclosed your abuse? They have told you they feel they are raping you and they can't be physical with you anymore. Oh my goodness. So Nikki, first of all, thank you so much for being so transparent and for sharing your truth here with us. And here, let me go. There we go. What I would say is, first of all, a lot of survivors that I have talked to, and this includes clients, colleagues, and just community members, this is something that is one of the greatest fears that survivors have. And sometimes what has happened in, I have a couple of husband and wife teams that I actually coach together to work through just the sexual abuse and just the issues that have been going on in their marriage. And what happened in this particular situation, as well as a few others, is the sexual relationship that they had as husband and wife declined after the disclosure of the sexual abuse. And it ended up being that it wasn't a purposeful withholding of sexual relations. It was fear-based and lack of communication. And what happens is the abuse gets disclosed, and the wife is the one who disclosed her abuse. And this is just an example. The husband, being shocked and not knowing what to do and being afraid to trigger the wife's PTSD, really backed off from being flirtatious and sexual and sensual and touchy-feely and affectionate and kissing and just a lot of touching. And even like there was basically no nudity going on. Like previously they were very open with dressing in front of one another. And then as soon as the sexual abuse from the wife's childhood was disclosed, then all of a sudden there was this like very like walls, all these invisible walls had gone up, and they wouldn't dress in front of one another. They weren't really touchy-feely. They were no longer kissing. They were barely holding hands. They weren't sleeping in the same bed the same way they were sleeping in the same bed previously, where they would sort of cuddle. Like wasn't even very much cuddling going on. And when the third party, myself, comes in and I'm sort of that mediator in the conversation, it ends up being that, now you've mentioned that, I'm not sure if this is your husband or someone's husband, said that they felt like they were raping you. Well, the wife in this one particular situation that I'm sharing with you right now said, it's as though my husband is like afraid that I'm going to be feeling like having flashbacks as though I was being raped. And he wasn't thinking that. He was just wanting to be respectful and not wanting to trigger her PTSD and just give her some space to sort of work through everything that she's been working through, because she was having all these new memories. So my quick answer to your question, Nikki, is clear, open, not rushed communication. And I'll go a step further and say scheduled, agreed upon scheduled regular, weekly, clear, open communication, preferably with a third party, a therapist, a counselor, someone who is trusted. So I hope that's helpful for you. I believe personally that this issue that you have described, Nikki, could be resolved through clear, open communication done on a regular basis with a third party that is an unbiased third party mediator. But it will take a lot of very, very, very clear communication on the abused spouse's part so that the non-abused spouse can clearly understand where this person is coming from, and if they are dealing with flashbacks, and if it is true that they are feeling as though they're being raped when they're having sex with their spouse. And you know, that's a delicate issue, and I'm just going to throw this out there. Obviously this goes without saying, but this kind of stuff is not going to resolve itself overnight. These are going to be ongoing conversations. This is going to be an ongoing open communication that's going to need to happen for a while, for an indefinite period of time, until both the husband and the wife, till both parties feel as though the issue has been resolved and the communication is open and there's a level of comfort in discussing this. Because a level of discomfort in even discussing childhood sexual abuse is going to cause tension. And so if there's a level of discomfort that is overall sort of like the undercurrent under the undercurrent, as I say. So if the undercurrent under the undercurrent is one of just fear and disgust, or afraid to say anything, or really unsure, or just uncomfortable and not open to discussion because it's awkward and all of that, if that's kind of the undercurrent under the undercurrent, both parties are going to need to be willing to have regular, open dialogue with clear goals. Like, the goal is for us to be sexually intimate with one another again. The goal is for us as partners to be sexually intimate with one another a minimum of one time per month for the foreseeable future, or as often as we feel comfortable. And there's a great book. In fact, I need to find it. I don't know where any of my books are right now, actually. But there's a great book. I attended a conference, and one of the breakout sessions at this particular conference was a husband and wife team that actually deal with issues in marriage regarding not being able to have a sexual relationship with your spouse, whether it's due to prior abuse or impotence or fear or premature ejaculation, or just different body image issues. There's a dealing with fear of being nude, fear of being seen. Anyway, there's a great book that this husband and wife couple wrote, and it deals with all of these issues and how to overcome them in the conversation. So it's almost like guided communication. And sometimes guided communication, hi Justice, sometimes guided communication can be the safest way to communicate on such a delicate topic such as sex in marriage, when one of the spouses has been sexually abused as a child and they're having flashbacks or PTSD symptoms or struggling. So I hope that was helpful, Nikki, and I'm having trouble reading. I'm so sorry, you guys. I hope that was helpful, Nikki. And let's see here. Oh, Larry the Cucumber saying, "Where is my hairbrush?" on VeggieTales. Thank you to whomever is the person who said that. I believe it may have been Dawn. Or maybe it was Matt. You see who, it was Matt. Matt has given us the answer to the $1 million question, which is, who's saying, "Oh, where is my hairbrush?" Thank you. Little comic relief there for the evening, folks. There's a lot of laughter on this channel, so if you take everything really, really, really seriously and you're afraid to laugh, or you're not in a place where you're okay with laughing and laughter is triggering for you, then this might not be a good video for you right now, because we like to laugh and smile, and we've been through a lot of heavy situations throughout our lives being adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse, and we are doing our very best to navigate the waters of recovery, and we're doing our best to smile and laugh and learn along the way. So hopefully that's okay with you guys. John Harvey, hey John Harvey over on Facebook says, I feel I should tell before I start dating someone because I feel that they wouldn't want to be with someone with my issues, and it's best to maybe get it over with sooner than later. You know, that's a personal decision, John. You're not the only person I know that thinks that and that feels that way. It is very, very, very common. In fact, here, I just want to lean in and just look at you. So you're on Facebook. John, I want you to know that this is a very common perspective for survivors. It's a common stance that survivors take. And a lot of people, in fact, a lot of the people in this community, a lot of people that I minister to one-on-one as private clients, a lot of people in our groups, they prefer to either stay single and celibate, which was kind of what I was doing, and I didn't know I was really doing it because of my sexual abuse. I thought, I have life completely figured out. I'm super awesome. I have my life wrapped up with a little bow and everything was great. And I was sort of denying. I was in a lot of denial. And as you know, denial is one of the 3 stumbling blocks of childhood sexual abuse recovery. So yeah, that was definitely, it's not, yeah, that's hard. At least a lot of people are in that place and just not ready to deal. And I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready because I wasn't having a lot of memories, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to do more EMDR and get more memories. But to answer your particular question, John, that is a personal choice. And if that is what you feel safe with, then I say go ahead and go there. But I want to also say this to you, John, and that is the issues, you use the word issues, that you might have are things that you are actively working through. You are doing your very best to work through and heal from what you endured. And remember, guys, we didn't abuse ourselves. We didn't sexually abuse ourselves as children. It happened to us. And so it's not something that we brought on ourselves. And while it does feel like an issue that is even like it almost feels insurmountable sometimes. Hi, Kate. Your feelings are so valid, John, but I want to encourage you to hear what I have to say to you, and that is there's a lot of grace and a lot of patience and a lot of love from almost every person that I've shared my truth with, including boyfriend/husband. I didn't tell my husband right away. I didn't. And I just was not sure if he would love me as much if he knew about all of my stuff. And I mean, I shared with him, you know, as much as I felt safe sharing at the time. And then I told him more. And then I told him more. Hey, Erica. Oh my goodness. I am so honored that you are here. Yeah. John, I can see where you're coming from. A lot of people take that particular stance. I would just encourage you to reframe it rather than framing it as you having issues. It's you healing from an injury. In fact, Heather Tuba, you guys, follow her on Twitter and go subscribe to her blog, because she's getting ready to write a series of blog posts on how to effectively support abuse survivors and their supporters. So she's amazing. But Heather and I were having a discussion on Skype one day, and we were talking, John, about something that helped her to reframe what had happened. She's a spouse. She is a spouse of a childhood sexual abuse survivor. And I remember her saying that when she finally understood that what he has endured is an injury, like he has an injury, like he has brain damage, and he is injured because of something that was inflicted upon him. It's like someone healing from a car accident, someone healing from a natural disaster, someone healing from being mugged or robbed or beaten, or, you know, there's an injury that's being healed. So it's not necessarily, I want to encourage you, John Harvey, to reframe it as, rather than issues, things that you're healing from, you know? Like, if someone rear-ended you on the freeway and you were healing from having whiplash, and you were going to all your physical therapy appointments, and you went to see the chiropractor, and you went through all the rigmarole and going through all of the different channels that you needed to go through so that your insurance would cover everything, and et cetera, et cetera, I don't know that you would feel the same way. Of course, you likely wouldn't feel the same way about telling somebody that you got rear-ended on the freeway, because it's an injury. It's something that happened to you through no fault of your own. And I want to encourage every single one of you, Periscope peeps and Facebook Live peeps and all of the YouTube Live family as well. Okay, guys, I want to encourage you to really embrace the fact that what is going on with us and what has happened is an injury. This was done to us. We didn't sexually abuse ourselves. We didn't ask to be sexually abused. And thank you so much, Erica. Yeah, it's something we're healing from. It's an injury. It's not anything we asked for, and it's nothing we can control. So, but excellent question, John, or excellent statement or comment, rather. And thank you again to Nikki for being so brave and sharing part of her truth as well. Let's see here. Oh, we cannot do screen shares on Periscope for sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for all the information, you guys. On Twitter, there is someone with the username Twisted, and their question is, I've disclosed some of the abuse to my partners, and I have had it go bad. Bad with one and good with another. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag, isn't it, you guys? Like, hello, we're just doing the best we can over here. We're doing the best we can, and we're just trying to get through. We're just trying to make it through, right? I've had it go with my husband. I've had it go well, and I've had it go not so well. And depending on my level of communication and my expectations and everything. Yeah. Yeah, my husband still struggles too. I mean, everybody's got issues. Mine just happen to be sexual issues, childhood sexual abuse issues that I'm healing from, things that I'm healing from, things that I am healing from. Charlie, hi Charlie. Hi Charlie over on Twitter. I wonder if you're on Periscope also. Charlie says, I've disclosed my abuse to the man that I am legally bound to, and he does not believe it happened. He invalidates me and makes me feel bad. Yeah, that is a tough one, you guys. That is such a common thing that happens. Hey, Stu, you can't see on here. Let me see if Stu, can you see the shirt that I am wearing right here? Shout out to Stu over at the Gatehouse. Don't should all over yourself. This is a gift. This is a gift. This is some swag that Stu sent me from, please work. Thanks, Stu. This is a gift that Stu sent me from Canada at the Gatehouse. An awesome place where you guys can go check out their website and consider donating to all the awesome work that they're doing with survivors. But Charlie, I want to say to you, Charlie, that I am so sorry that you have been invalidated by your husband and that he doesn't believe it happened. And if we are dealing with a spouse that refuses to believe that our abuse happened, our spouse, unfortunately, at that moment, is moved out a rung and they are no longer in our safe circle. They're no longer part of our safe support team. And that is heartbreaking to say out loud because I rely so much on my husband being a part of my safe support team. So Charlie, I am so sorry that your husband is so invalidating and horrifically re-traumatizing you. That it's heartbreaking to know that that's what's happening. And I know that it must be devastating. I can only imagine how devastating it must be for you to have to move your husband a rung out because he's no longer in your safe person circle. I want to make sure you're plugged into as many of our safe support groups as possible so you're receiving the love and support that you deserve, because you do not deserve to be invalidated and disbelieved by your own spouse. It's just horrific and wrong in so many ways. So I forgot my water, and I can't just pick y'all up and go with me because I have you on 3 different like tripod-y sort of devices and you're stacked up on things, and I'm really thirsty, you guys. I might not last like the entire 90 minutes tonight with no water. So I'm gonna do the very best I can. So Charlie, I'm so sorry. I don't even know what to say other than I'm like angry on your behalf, like rawr mama bear angry. And I just want to like shake your husband. I'm so sorry. I will try to remain professional, right? I can't go grab some water. Well, you're so funny. Thank you, Erica. I mean, I want to, but I can't just like walk away. There's like 3 different devices. Everything's going on, right? Over on YouTube, Arian says, I think sometimes our partners are afraid they will break us more. Yeah, so true. It's very, very true. Part of the stigma about being a survivor, that we're broken. But in truth, we are not broken. Our partners just need to see that too. Very well said. Very, very, very well said. Very well said. Yeah, it is very common, Arian, over on YouTube, that our partners are afraid they're going to break us more. In fact, I think, you guys, I think my husband's dealing with some of that. I do. You know, he hears about some stuff that I've gone through. He hears about some stuff that I have been through in my childhood. He hears about the way I was treated by my aunts and my uncles and my cousins. He hears about the way I was treated by my mother and my father. Yeah, I'm so sorry, Erica. My husband too. Yeah. I mean, he hears some of the things I've been through, and it's just a whole nother world to him. I mean, my husband grew up in I mean, every family has issues, right? Every family has dysfunction. No family's perfect. But, I mean, he grew up with a loving mother and a loving father, and all of his needs were met. Food, shelter, love, approval, safety, family vacations every summer, breakfast, lunch, and dinner all together. 1 brother, 1 sister, and a partridge in a pear tree. And he had never experienced anything traumatic in his entire life until he met me. So it's like, wow, it's just hard. Yeah, really hard, really hard. I think it's really hard for our spouses. And I think we need to make sure that we are keeping, sorry guys, I think we need to make sure that we are keeping in mind that it is hard for our spouses. It is really hard for them. They love us. And it is, spouses will deny, numb, stuff, and avoid as coping strategies to deal with the pain and the reality of either our abuse or abuse that's happened to them or someone they know, and it's triggering memories for them. And, you know, it's hard for them. I want us all to be mindful that it is hard for them too. And it's hard for us, you know, to disclose, but it's hard for them too. You know, it's really hard for them. They love us, and they don't want to accept the reality that we, their spouse, we, their partner, we, their beloved, have been tortured and mistreated, and, you know, in some of our cases, you know, traded, sold, offered to the highest bidder, or given away to people for lengths of time. Like, I remember being given away to like different aunts and uncles, and for long periods of time, because my mom was just, you know, busy. So like, I think it's really painful and difficult for our spouses, our partners, to accept the fact that that is reality and that people like that exist. And not only do people like that exist, but their in-laws or people that they are now related to are those types of people. So, hey, Kara Alu, nice to see you. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, it's painful for them, you guys. It's painful for our spouses as well. Hi, LDS 1993. Welcome to Periscope. Oh, I'm okay, Simi. You're so cute. It's okay. Welcome to Periscope. This is only my second public Periscope, so you are in good company being new to Periscope. And so yeah, that's hard. Thanks for your comment and for being here, Arian. Lifestyle over on YouTube says, I was trying to open up to my husband about my past. And before I was able to tell him, he told me that everyone has a rough childhood and I just need to get over it. Should I try again? Okay, first of all, this is a pet peeve of mine. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So, first of all, I'm going to contain myself right now. Breathe, Athena. That is not an appropriate response to anyone who's been through any trauma whatsoever. Lifestyle over on YouTube. Sadly, your husband has chosen to be incredibly insensitive, short-sighted, and ignorant. And I don't mean ignorant as a derogatory term. I mean just not knowing. And ignorance is a choice in this day and age, this age of information that we live in, where we can Google anything and we can ask Siri anything, or Alexa, or whoever it is that we choose to ask, that is the little robots inside of our devices. And your husband is not stating the facts. Not everybody had a rough childhood. I happen to know that because I have been blessed to have an abundance of amazing clients who had very rough childhoods and are married to people who didn't. And I happen to be married to someone who did not have a rough childhood. So what your spouse, what your husband is saying is not true, first of all, and it's not helpful. It's insensitive, and sadly, he is re-traumatizing you. And I don't know if you should try again, because that is placing yourself in a situation where you'll be re-traumatized yet again, possibly. I had to personally tell my husband straight up, like in his face, which wasn't fun. You can choose to be part of the solution or part of the problem. But I'm living with PTSD as a result of childhood sexual abuse and exploitation, also known as human trafficking nowadays. And you making light of it, denying it, and not choosing to hear me and acknowledge my truth is re-traumatizing me. And therefore, you are part of the problem and not part of the solution. So you can choose to be part of the problem or part of the solution. And my husband then, exactly, Stu, validation is the only way that we heal, and it is all that we deserve. And that is very invalidating. So, yeah, you can let your husband know that he is officially part of the problem, respectfully so, and he can choose to be part of the solution, or you might have to sadly place him a rung out of your safety circle. You guys can't see me, but like if this is like a bullseye, like there's the little one and then the bigger circle, bigger circle, bigger circle, bigger circle. The bullseye is like our safe circle. Our safe circle, right? Like us here. This is a safe, validating environment. I do not allow trolls here. I do not allow people to minimize your abuse. I do not allow people to be abusive toward any of you here. They will be deleted. They will be kicked out. They will not be allowed back. They'll be blocked. This is a safe, validating, beautiful, amazing, loving environment. And this is all you deserve. So, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Simi says, maybe in his eyes, everybody had a rough childhood, but we're talking about like actual PTSD, and that's it's not something that everybody has. You know, not everybody has PTSD or complex PTSD or anxiety or different types of injuries to the brain and the body due to severe childhood trauma. So I am so sorry that you are being invalidated like that by your own spouse. And I don't know if you should try again. That is a personal choice. But I would clearly communicate to him that he has chosen to be part of the problem rather than part of the solution. And that can be a frightening conversation to have. If you're in an abusive situation or a domestic violence situation, then I would not recommend having that conversation. But I would seek the support you deserve. You know, get involved in some of our safe communities. You deserve to be supported in every way. And lifestyle. I think lifestyle and Charlie, both of you, wherever you are, I believe you. I believe you, and not everybody had a rough childhood. And I'm sorry that you went through what you went through. Because you deserve to hear that. You deserve to hear that you're believed. You deserve to hear that you're believed and that you're loved and that you're cared for, and that not everybody had a rough childhood. And hi, Heather. I'm so excited you're here. I was just talking about you behind your back. All good things, I promise. But yeah, you deserve to hear that I believe you. You deserve to hear that from your spouse. I believe you. And not everybody had a rough childhood, and not everybody has PTSD, and you are special, and your circumstances are extenuating circumstances, and you deserve you deserve to be validated and loved and cared for, and you do not deserve to be minimized and treated the way you're being treated. And that's for you, Charlie, and you, lifestyle. Willow says, would it be considered a red flag if once abuse is disclosed that a partner becomes more sexual and wanting to be more aggressive? I don't think that would be considered a red flag, but I don't know the situation, Willow. If by more aggressive, you're talking about like borderline abuse during sex without consent, I understand the whole 50 Shades of Grey thing, which I didn't know what BSM was. before. I thought it was like sex with animals or something. I did not understand. I didn't know what that was. And someone explained it to me that it's like, you know, like dominatrix type stuff, and being tied up and like very aggressive sexual behaviors, and it's not having sex with animals. So, but I understand the whole BSM thing needs to be consensual. BDSM, BSDM, BDSM, and that needs to be consensual. So Willow, I would communicate clearly with your husband if you're being triggered, and if you feel that it's a red flag and that it's awkward, that he's being really overly sexual with you and very, very aggressive. I would have an honest conversation with him that you find it odd. Like, is he aroused by the fact that you were sexually abused as a child? Is he envisioning you as a child? And if so, is he living with some sort of pedophilia? And are you concerned? Like, are these things, you know what I mean? Like, these things need to be talked about openly. And if you're feeling in your gut that it's a red flag, trust yourself, my darling. Please trust yourself. Trust yourself, and then trust yourself some more, for sure. BDSM is one thing that can be helpful. It is based in consent and structure. Yes, I'm learned. It's not solely about sex. Exactly. Yes. So, Willow, I would like for you to have, for your own safety and for your own peace of mind, I would like for you to have open communication with your husband and ask him, I've noticed that you've been a lot more aggressive with me lately and a lot more sexual, or you've been more sexual and wanting to be more aggressive with me lately. And you know what else could be going on, Willow? I just had a light bulb moment. If you, the abused spouse, did not feel fully heard and validated by your spouse when you disclosed your abuse, like if you didn't feel that he was listening attentively, validating your feelings, telling you that he's sorry that you experienced that abuse, no one deserves to be abused, I'm here for you, I love you, let's get through this together. If you weren't feeling completely validated and heard, and a sense of compassion coming from your husband, then it is possible for us, the abused spouse, who didn't receive that communication from the other spouse, the non-abused spouse, it would be possible for us to misconstrue anything sexual, because we're hyper aware and hyper vigilant of anything sexual at that point, just by default, for the very fact that we weren't validated and we don't feel heard, and we don't feel that there's compassion coming our way from someone who supposedly loves us, and they just found out that we were abused as a child, and like, hello, where's the emotion? Like, I remember having to say to my husband, your lack of response or inflection of, you know, in anything, your voice or your lack of a response when I share my truth with you is very invalidating for me, and it is hurtful, and it causes me to lose trust in you. It's as though I don't feel heard, and I don't feel that you are, good night, Stu. I had to share with him that I was feeling that there was a lack of love. I felt a lack of love coming from him, because I bared my soul to him in many ways, bared my soul to him, right? And he was very monotone and very unchanging in his facial expression. And yeah. Oh, Heather says it's because of mirror neurons. Survivors need to see it. Yeah, I needed to see that he was listening. I needed to see that he heard me. I needed to see that he cared. I needed to see that he was either angry or shocked or concerned or feeling compassion, feeling moved in some way. I needed it. And when I didn't receive it, I had to share with him that it was very invalidating and very triggering for me. And oh my goodness, you guys, it's after 4 o'clock already and I haven't answered everybody's questions and I have an appointment. Oh my goodness. Okay. I need to speed along. I could sit here all night with you all and just support you and just share. And but I have to move on to other questions and I'm so sorry. So here we go, guys. Kalisha. Hi, Kalisha. Kalisha says, I haven't dealt with outright denial from a partner. I've had 2 partners react with a lot of anger, and one of the 2 is my current. Yeah. Honestly, you guys, I know this sounds really weird, but I almost wished that my husband would have gotten angry. Is that weird that I said that? I was feeling at the time like, say something. And when I forgot to tell you what his response was. I guess I should tell you that part. Thank you, Erica. I guess I should tell you what my husband's response was when I said, you know, it's very invalidating for me when you have no influx in your response or your voice or anything when I share my truth with you. And his response was, I was afraid to respond either with any type of emotion whatsoever, whether it was with anger or compassion or anything, because I felt like I would have been contributing to you staying stuck. Because you shared with me over and over and over again, honey, that you've made so much progress and you've grown so much in your recovery and you feel so much stronger. I felt like I was going to keep you stuck and I was going to hurt you by responding. Like, I felt like you were in a delicate state and there was nothing that I was going to do that was going to be right. So I did nothing. And I'm like, well, that's the wrong thing to do. Like, nothing is the worst. So I had to just express to him that it was, you know, I appreciate him thinking of me in that way, that, you know, he didn't want to like hurt me in any way. But nothing is the worst. Like, I need him to say something. I need him to say something. I need him to think something. I need him to show me some sort of facial expression. Hi, Pika Pie. Nice to see you here. By the way, like, thank goodness the letters are really big on Periscope. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to like see anything because I'm like still squinting and I can't see anything on Facebook and I can't see anything here unless I'm like squinting. So yeah, that was my husband's response, you guys. When I shared with him that I was feeling really invalidated by his lack of response, he was like, well, I was thinking of every possible thing that I could say or do, and every time I came to some sort of conclusion, I was like, I didn't want to keep you stuck and you've been making so much progress. And yeah, exactly, Heather. Heather says she can understand why a spouse would think that, but when they respond, it means that there's a connection there. And I was feeling a lack of connection. And when I feel a lack of connection, I feel a lack of support. So I was feeling very unsupported and very invalidated, and he didn't understand that. So yeah, my husband does too, Erica. My husband feels nervous and doesn't know how to respond, and it's really, really hard for him. Yeah, my husband, the uncertainty of it all, it does overwhelm him. He gets very overwhelmed. So Justice says, when I told my partner that I was abused, he then ended up hurting me and he said that I was used to it. Oh my goodness, Justice, that should never happen. That's wrong. That's abuse. And that's someone being predatory. This person is preying upon you while you're in a compromised state. And I am so awful. I'm so horrified by that. And Erica says that's awful, and I agree. And Sydney says that's awful, and I agree. It's awful. That's awful. that's someone is preying upon you while you are in a very vulnerable state. And yes, Simi says, Justice, get out. And I would agree. When people see that we're in a weakened state or in a vulnerable state and they come in for the kill, that's not a safe person, and we need to get out. And by the way, Justice, there's an amazing book called Safe People, and the authors are Townsend and Cloud. And you can just Google Safe People, and you'll see the big blue book cover with a red, yellow, and green light with a stoplight on it. And read that book, and then read it again, and then keep it open on your desk at all times. Like, I want you to read that book, Justice. I'm like, Justice. I'm like mama bearing all over the place with you, but like for reals. Yeah, it's a great book. And then the book Boundaries, of course, is amazing. So here you go, you guys. I gotta like try to hurry up and like finish all these questions because I really don't want to leave them unanswered. My goodness gracious. Kalisha, I am so sorry that you dealt with anger, because it just is hard. It's breaking my heart to know that you were dealing with that. And I want to make sure that you're in a safe space, Kalisha, and that this person isn't directing their anger at you, because you don't deserve that. And I love you. You know this. You guys go follow Survivor Community on Instagram. Kalisha manages that account for our whole community because she's amazing. Thank you, Kalisha. Hi, JJ. I'm so happy you're here. I'm gonna try to finish these. Joey says, hey, Joey. Joey says, my caseworker told me that I should tell my past history to my personal assistant. She told me that it will help them better understand how to help me when I get triggered, or help me when I am in a flashback moment, but I am not comfortable in telling the personal assistant that. What should I do, and is it wrong for me to not tell? Okay, so just a little background so that everybody's up on the lingo. The reason Joey has a personal assistant, it's not a personal assistant as though she's an executive, a CEO running a company, and like her personal assistant like is the person who gets her coffee or gives her telephone messages and so forth. Joey has a personal assistant that is assigned to her by the government because she is physically disabled. So it's an assistant that helps her go and get food from the grocery store and like help her with those types of things. So like a caregiver. So Joey, I would say that you need to trust yourself. If you don't feel comfortable telling your PA about your childhood sexual abuse, yeah, me too. I was like, what do you mean at first? Like, what do you mean you have an assistant? I want a personal assistant. Hey. Yeah, Joey, trust yourself. Like I tell you guys so much on this channel. Trust yourself, and then trust yourself, and then trust yourself some more. Because you deserve to trust yourself. And the way we learn to trust ourselves is through congruence. And what I mean by that is when what you are thinking and speaking and feeling and doing are all the same. When we are duplicitous, or we are hiding something, or we are living in shame and silence and whatever, then we don't know how to trust ourselves. But if we live a transparent sort of like what I am thinking and what I am speaking and what I am doing and what I am living and how I am feeling is all congruent. There's a continuity. It's all the same. Integrity, exactly. If I'm living in integrity with myself, I'm congruent in my thoughts, my words, my actions, my feelings, then I'm learning to trust myself. I mean, it's fairly easy for me to trust myself if I'm like feeling pretty solid and, you know, but if I'm like, oh, I don't want to say that because if I say that, then I'm going to hurt somebody's feelings. And then if I say that, then so-and-so won't like me. And then I can't do that or say that because then so-and-so won't, they'll think that I'm mean. And blah, 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 blah. Like whenever we are in people pleaser mode, you guys, we are not living congruent lives. We cannot be people pleasers. And hi, Trevor Duffy. I'm so happy you're here. This is only my second Periscope, so please be patient with me if you're like a master at this. So yeah, if we're in people pleaser mode, you guys, we cannot learn to trust ourselves. You just can't, because we're not being congruent. We're not thinking, feeling, speaking, and acting all the same. Yeah. Can't be in people pleaser mode and living lives of integrity and being congruent and learning to trust ourselves. They all just can't happen at the same time. I hope that's helpful. I hope that made sense. Hi, Heather Tuba. Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I gotta get going though. Like, seriously. Spouses need to say, I believe you, before anyone else does. That's a comment from Heather Tuba, and that is so true. I needed to hear my husband. I had to communicate. This is me communicating a need to my husband, okay? I said to my husband when we were having that big talk, and I shared with him that I felt very invalidated because he didn't show concern or love or kindness or whatever towards me. And I told him, I need you to tell me out loud that you believe me. And he said, of course I believe you. I said, I think I need to hear you say it out loud. I need you to look at me with kind eyes and establish eye contact with me. And I need you to tell me that you believe me and that you're sorry that I went through the abuse I went through. And so he did. And then he was in a little bit of tears. And I think that's what he was trying to avoid. Because, hi, Javen Brow. Yeah, Erica. I needed that. And I think it was really hard for my husband to show emotion. I think it was hard for him to be in tears. He just wants to be strong for me, you know? So that was hard. That was really hard. But yeah, we need that. Our spouses need to be validating towards us. Hey, Grace Hope. I'm so happy you're here. Grace Hope says, this is really hard for me to say, but going through therapy is making me question my sexuality. Is this normal? Now, remember what I say normally, Grace Hope? Like I've said this a few times on this channel, I'm going to say it again. Normal is a setting on the washing machine. Normal is a setting on the washing machine. Normal is like, what is normal, right? So is it common? Is going through therapy, having memories of childhood sexual abuse and everything else that you've been through, Grace Hope, which I have a little bit of a privilege and honor of knowing a little bit of your truth, so I know some details. I would say it's very common. In fact, probably 7 clients out of 10 question their sexuality, their sexual preference, even their gender identity sometimes. So it's common, especially if you were sexually abused by a man and you're a woman, or if you were sexually abused by a woman and you're a man. And it can even happen if it was, you know, same-sex abuse. So I would say it's common. And I don't think it's weird at all. And you're brave for saying that. Thank you for being here and for sharing your truth. Liz, I miss you, Liz. Hi, Liz. Spouses need therapy too. Amen, sister. High fives. Drops mic. Boom. That's all I needed to say for the whole night. Spouses need therapy too. Boom. Done. It's so true. They do. They do. They really do. They don't know how to deal with all this stuff. You know, no one knows how to deal with all this stuff. We're all still learning, right? We're all learning. So how's everybody doing? I'm gonna need to finish up here really soon. I have a screen share for you all. Arian says, sometimes when loved ones are invalidating, it is because they are afraid to know we were abused so badly. They are in denial. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. But yes, Heather Tuba says we should be on the same team. And that is so true. We do need to be on the same team. They can be afraid to know, and they can be in denial. but ultimately, if they're going to be part of the solution and not part of the problem, they need to be validating and they need to be loving and compassionate. And we all need to be on the same team. Okay, that was the last question I'm able to take, you guys, because I have to do the screen share for tonight. So yeah, Erica Riva just said, I think if my husband didn't struggle, it would concern me more. That's how I was feeling. I was like, but honey, but I just shared something big and amazing and horrible and like horrific and like gigantic and, you know, of astronomical proportions with you. And you're just like, nothing. I'm like, can I check you for a pulse? Really? I mean, I was like triggered and angry and felt invalidated, and it was just horrible, horrible, horrible. So yeah, seriously. So I'm gonna do a screen share. Yeah, I'm gonna do a screen share, and it's gonna be kind of hard for everybody here. I'm like trying to, okay. So, okay, oh, no matter what, I'm out of one of the cameras. So I'm gonna do a screen share for the YouTube live peeps right now and for Roku TV. And then I'm going to read the screen share straight through from top to bottom. And if you can hear it and you like it, then give me some hearts and invite some people. And then I'm going to read it for you all up there on Facebook too. And if this video has been helpful for you up on Facebook Live, will you please give it a thumbs up or a heart or a like or something? Because it helps me go up in search, and then they show more people. The search engine optimization, not search engine optimization, the Facebook higher up people that choose who gets to see my things, and the Periscope people that choose who to alert when I decide to go live, and then the Facebook Live people, who's owned by Google, we all know this, and then the Roku peeps, then it helps. Like the more hearts and thumbs up, if you could thumbs up this YouTube video, it would just make my whole day, and it inspires me to make more free things for you guys and do more awesome stuff. So I'm going to do a screen share, and I'm going to read it to everybody. Here we go. This is on the topic of if and when and how to share and disclose our abuse to our spouse. Hope you guys can hear me okay. Okay. If you can see my screen share, can you give this video a thumbs up? And let me know if you can see it, or leave a comment in the chat box. Okay, so here we go, you guys. I'm going to read this to you, okay? Let's see if I can. Oops. Oh no, I think it stopped. Uh-oh. Oh no. I hope you got, are you guys still live on Periscope? I think I killed the Periscope on accident. If I did, I'm really sorry. If I killed the Periscope, I apologize. Can someone let me know if the Periscope is dead? Sorry about that, you guys. I'm gonna be reading this screen share. Thank you for letting me know the screen share is working on YouTube Live, you guys. You guys are awesome. Can someone let me know if I killed the Periscope, please? I don't know how or why that would have happened, but I think I might have killed it. Okay, so hopefully you all up on Facebook. Here, maybe if I go like this, then I won't be out of anybody's camera. I'm like, okay, here we go. Disclosing our abuse. Deciding when, how, or whether to tell your spouse about your childhood abuse is a personal decision which should ultimately be made by you. Discussing this choice with your safe community members can be a great way to talk it out or think aloud, or even find ways of feeling your way through the decision-making process. No matter what you choose, please know your feelings surrounding your decision are very valid and should always be respected by those in whom you choose to discuss your truth with. Please remember, no one can know your truth as intimately as you do. I encourage you to begin and/or embrace the art of getting to know yourself and what your preferences are as it pertains to disclosing your childhood abuse history. Your feelings and emotions may vary from day to day or even moment to moment. Everyone is different. Some survivors are undecided. Others feel it is unnecessary. Some never hide the information, but they're open about it from the time they begin dating their partner or spouse. For some of us, the thought of discussing our abuse with our spouse is so frightening, and chilling that we never get to the point of making a decision. As I mentioned earlier, none of these choices or feelings are wrong. As we tell you on a regular basis here on this channel, only you know what is best for you and your situation. Although you had little power over your life as a child, you have power now. You have the power to decide if you will disclose your abuse to your spouse. If you choose to tell him or her, you have control over how and when you will tell them. It's a friendly reminder, please be extra kind and patient with yourself as you navigate the minefield of challenges involved in sharing such a personal and potentially triggering part of your life with any other person. Here are some questions to consider as you decide whether to tell your partner or not. In what ways will you benefit if you tell your spouse of your abuse? In what ways will your spouse benefit if you tell them about your abuse? If you still have a relationship with your abuser, how will you help your spouse integrate this new information into their relationship with him or her? And what I mean, I want to be very careful to say this. What I mean by how will you help your spouse integrate this new information into their relationship with him or her? What I mean is, if, let's say, you were sexually abused by your mother and your mother is staying with you temporarily or is coming for a visit, and like your spouse may be in direct contact with your abuser and you both may need to help one another clearly communicate and figure out sort of a plan of action on whether or not you're going to establish and maintain a healthy boundary and say, you know what, maybe a visit isn't a good idea this year, or when my mother decides that she's going to act this way or say these things, I think it would be helpful for you to respond this way and communicate with me in this way. So it's you helping one another, not just you helping your spouse. I should have worded that differently. My apologies. Moving on to the next bullet point. Is your spouse likely to be supportive if you choose to tell them your truth? It's always good to take this into consideration. A lot of you aren't really sure if you want to tell them or not, but it's always good for you to consider, like, do I think they're going to be supportive? I want to be mentally and emotionally prepared for if they're not very supportive. It's a good thing for you to consider. And lastly, please consider clearly communicating your need for your partner to be supportive and even protective if this is something you feel will help you. And what I mean by that, you guys, is I remember when I was sharing with my husband some things that had happened in my childhood, when he asked me, how can I be supportive toward you? How can I best support you? I told him, I think I need you to protect me from my remaining family members that I'm in touch with. If they're especially I was still in touch at this point with one of my abusers, and one of my enablers was in the hospital. So I had to communicate with my husband that it would be the most helpful for me if he would please be really protective of me and make sure that they didn't re-traumatize me or do any more harm, if that makes sense. So I communicated that to my husband, and that was really helpful. And I hope that's helpful for you guys to know that that's an option. So these are some tips to keep in mind when telling your spouse about your abuse. Number one, don't provide an overload of information. Keep what you share basic, and then add in details as they ask questions. Dispense small amounts of information at a time. Number two, try to remain as emotionally neutral as possible when talking to your spouse about your past abuse. This will help them to disseminate the information they have just heard for quite possibly the first time ever. Once you feel comfortable and you feel fully supported, then you may ease in and communicate what emotions this brings up for you. Now, this here that I just shared, you guys, this is nearly next to impossible. I'm not telling you that this is the only way. This is just something that you can keep in mind. Like I put up here, these are things that you can keep in mind. It is nearly next to impossible to remain emotionally neutral when talking about your childhood sexual abuse for the very first time, which is why we recommend being involved in safe community where you can actually, work out some of the details and talk about some things that happened to you during your childhood and communicate with safe people and find out, because as you communicate your truth and as you share your truth with safe people around you, perhaps other survivors, you become less emotional about the details. Like 3 or 4 years ago, if I would be sitting here on a video with you all, first of all, I probably wouldn't have been sitting here on a video with you all 4 years ago sharing my truth. But I would be crying. It's just a natural emotion. I would be grieving the loss of my innocence. And it would be a really hard thing for me to be dealing with. And I wouldn't be able to remain emotionally neutral. So, do what you need to do. It's very overwhelming for your spouse, though, if you just come out and tell them an hour-long version of details of your childhood sexual abuse. They might not know how to disseminate that information, and they might not know how to support you. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind for sure. I'm hoping you guys can see everything okay. Oh, Periscope is still working. That's amazing. Okay, it looks like it was dead. Like I thought it wasn't working, but I'm glad it is. Lastly, these last 2 bullet points, answer all of your spouse's questions honestly. So if they're asking you details, then, share what you feel safe sharing. Share your feelings, share your thoughts, share where you're at now, share your anger, share your pain, share the fact that you're grieving. You're grieving the loss of your innocence, or you're grieving the relationship you thought you had with certain family members, when in all actuality, it wasn't the relationship that you had come to believe that it was. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times when we are involved in relationships within our family unit, there is gaslighting that goes on. Harriet, if you could please pop up a YouTube card on this video right now and leave it up there for as long as you can on the gaslighting video, so that everyone understands that there might have been some history revision going on. Gaslighting is very, very common in families, and then they sort of interweave these partial truths and lies all together, so that when you start to come to and you start to remember things, you're like, oh no, that could have never happened because we went here that day. Or you're specifically remembering that Uncle Joey, touched you under the dining room table on Thanksgiving when you were 7. And then when you try to share that or disclose that to a family member, then they're like, oh, that could have never happened. Don't you remember? Because I was sitting next to you on Thanksgiving. And so how could that have ever happened? And you're like thinking to yourself, but I remember it happening. And like, you weren't sitting next to me until dessert. And it was like for 45 minutes prior to dessert, like when everybody was eating pumpkin pie, like prior to that with the turkey and everything else, Uncle Joey was sitting next to me, and like that was inappropriate. And but like the parent or loved one that is gaslighting you, telling you that could have never happened, that's not real, you're remembering it wrong. Sometimes they're heavily vested in you not remembering the truth, and it's because they're living in denial because it serves them. And when denial serves one family member, you can bet that it doesn't serve another. Because there's some enabling going on and some history revision going on, and some, it is psychological warfare. I'm just not gonna I'm gonna pull out all the punches. Like, it is just psychological warfare. That's what it is. It is lies. It is causing you to doubt your own reality, doubt your own judgment, they want, some predatory family members want you to rely on them for reality and like check in with them to go, is this what happened, or how do you remember it? And like they want you to question yourself, and that's just not healthy. So yeah, Harriet's going to pop up gaslighting, so you can click on that so you understand what that is if you're not familiar with the term. And then Harriet, if you could post in the comments up on Facebook a link to the gaslighting video for everybody, so they can have access to it. Like whenever you get this message, Harriet, because you're amazing. Harriet is awesome. She's one of my team members. So yeah, answer all their questions honestly, and all of your spouse's questions honestly. And I should have put this as a bullet point on here, guys, but be really patient with your spouse, right? Like, do your very best to be really, really patient with them, because it's not their wish or their desire for you to be struggling. Your spouse loves you, and maybe they want to understand, but they don't process information as quickly as you do or in the same way that you do. And so it can be really triggering for you to have to repeat yourself, or for you to have to pull a response out of them. I mean, I just am learning to be really, really patient with my husband, because he's struggling with all of it. You know, he's struggling, and he cares, but he doesn't care to understand. I've said that a lot of times to Heather, because, you know, he really cares, but he doesn't care to understand, because as he digs into all of the details, it's devastating for him. It is truly devastating for him to get a bigger picture of what it is that I have lived through, and to what degree, and just the length of time that it all, you know, unfolded in, and just how many years it was. And it's just really hard for him. So I'm learning to be very patient with him. I should have made that a bullet point right here after the word honestly. The next bullet point should say to be very, very patient with your spouse, and it's not. but maybe I should have put that. So last bullet point here, guys, and then I'm going to go. If your spouse is upset by your disclosure for whatever reason, allow them their space to resolve their own feelings. Do not place demands or constraints on their processing of the information. I guess that's a little bit of like, be patient, be patient. But yeah, just whatever you do, just know that they are not an appendage. They're a separate person from you, and they process information differently than you do. They feel feelings differently than you feel. They think different thoughts. They have a different childhood than you, a different reality than you. If they experienced abuse, their abuse was different than your abuse history. And it's important that you allow them the space to process what they need to process and feel all of their feels. And yeah, just be real patient. Patient with yourself, and then patient with your spouse, because you know they need it. I'm going to stop screen sharing now on YouTube Live, and I am 9 minutes late for an appointment. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to say aloha to you guys, but I want to give you a real quick peek as to what it is I'm going to be talking about next week. So if you guys have been on this channel for the last 3 years, 2.5 years-ish, you know that one of the biggest, hugest topics on this channel, and I think one of the most viral videos that we have, is adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse and narcissistic parents. Not just narcissistic, like, ooh, look at me in the mirror, like I'm so beautiful, but someone with malignantly narcissistic traits where they get their needs met at the expense of others, in this specific instance, at the expense of their children. So Mother's Day is coming up. Mother's Day is coming up on Sunday, y'all. And ever since I started serving this community a few years ago, about 3 years, a little over 3 years ago, I have seen a growing need for support right around this time of year. The devastation that has happened in the lives of survivors and the lack of love that they received from their mothers, in this particular community that I serve, where you are hanging out right now on Periscope and on Facebook and on Roku TV and YouTube, there is a dearth of support for adults who are living with and struggling with, for lack of a better and more appropriate phrase, mama drama. So, and I don't say that disrespectfully. I got loads of mama drama. In fact, I don't just have a few issues. I have an entire subscription. I don't have one issue or two issues. I have an entire subscription to mama drama. And in honor of Mother's Day, like I did last year, I will be spending some time in our groups coming up on Mother's Day, probably, after I allow my husband to take me out for breakfast at a little hole-in-the-wall cafe that we love for Mother's Day. I'll be spending some time in our groups, and a week from tonight, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the 15th of May, on Facebook Live, Periscope, and YouTube Live, and Roku TV, I will be answering questions on the topic of how to cope with Mother's Day and the feelings, like just talking about all the feelings that we felt on Mother's Day. There are a range of different feelings that a lot of survivors are going to feel over the course of the next 7 days, not the least of which is confusion and grief and anger and just numbness or apathy, or some of it could be rage. There could be a really weird mixture of all of that with a lot of love. A lot of us love our mothers. Even if our mothers were abusive, we love them. And we want to believe that they did the best they could. And it is a mind screw. It's all very, very, very difficult to process. So in light of all of that, Harriet, could you pop up a link to the video of cognitive dissonance? There's some dissonance that goes on, especially during this time of year. And before you guys show up next week, just at least Wiki, Google something, the term cognitive dissonance, so you understand what it is that I'm talking about. Or watch this video that Harriet's going to pop a link up to cognitive dissonance that Bobby and I did. And Harriet, if you could pop up the link to the cognitive dissonance video up there on Facebook, that would be amazing also. And maybe we can somehow tweet it out so that our Periscope peeps can just look up cognitive dissonance. Anyhow, so a week from tonight, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, here, we will be processing and talking about the feelings we have surrounding Mother's Day, especially if our mothers were either abusers or enablers, and how to process all of that and how to deal with it. And are you in a situation where you're pretending everything's fine because it's Mother's Day and you just want to be the good son? You want to be the good daughter. You want to be the good child. You want to, it's going to be different this time. You want to earn their favor. You want to earn their approval. And you're just keeping it all together and just, you know, holding it together as best as you can. So if that's you, or if you're just struggling, or you're hobbling along, or you're frustrated, or you have a lot of anger around this time of year, or you're sad, or perhaps your mother was your abuser or enabler and they've since passed away and there's a lot of things left unsaid and you're just not sure how to process it all and it's really confusing for you. So if that's the case, you're not alone. And I want you to come here and feel loved and welcome and cared for and accepted and validated. And thank you all for being here. It has been an honor to serve you tonight. I am going to head off to an appointment and pray that I make it on time. And I will see you all here next Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Roku TV, and Periscope. And thank you all for being here. I'm hoping that this works. Hopefully this all works. So I'm Athena Moberg, and I love helping you break the cycle of all things dysfunctional, and I love bringing you a message of hope and healing. Thank you for being here. See you next week.